Following a recess period in this case to allow a breakout session between defense counsel and the defendant, we resume proceedings in State versus Wendy Scott. Ms. Scott, Mr. Watts, Ms. Norris appearing as before. Mr. Watts, is there any announcement to be made at this time?
Not at this time, Your Honor. Thank you. We're ready to proceed to prelim.
Very well. Then the state may call their first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Brian Dunlap.
All right, you may begin your questioning now, Ms. Norris.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name for the record.
Brian Dunlap.
And Mr. Dunlap, you live in Butler County?
Yes.
And were you living there in July of this year?
Yes.
And do you recall July 20th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you recall that day?
From the events that happened around 5 o'clock or so, I had a woman knock on my door, and when I answered, she was distraught. So I called 911 to get the police department there.
Okay. And did you know this woman?
No.
Okay. And was she, you said that she was distraught. Was she injured or?
Yes.
And explain to the court what sorts of injuries that you seen.
I believe it was on her left arm. She had some lacerations and was bleeding. And I did offer to help clean up the wound, and at that time she did not want it, want the wound cleaned up. She wanted the police department to see what happened.
Okay. And did she explain to you what happened to her?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And did you tell 911 what she had told you, or did you just call 911 and then they just sent somebody out?
When I called 911, I was interpreting what she was telling about her story to the 911 operator.
Okay. And just a brief synopsis, what did she tell you had happened to her?
She told me that there were two ladies that came to her apartment. One of the ladies was holding her stomach, saying she needed to go to the hospital. So Beverly gave them a ride, and then they were giving her directions. And at some point, she mentioned to them, "This is not the way to the hospital." And at that point, she said that they threw her out of the car and stole her car.
Okay. And were you able to figure out about how far away she was from? I mean, was this right by your house, or?
No, she had to walk at least a quarter to a half a mile to make it to my house. There's another house within eyeshot of my house, but it's probably 3 blocks or so, and there was nobody there. She went to that house first, and then she saw my house up on the hill, and she walked up to my house.
Okay. And did she identify herself at some point to you?
Yes. I mean, yeah, after so I had to put my dog up. He doesn't let anybody come in the house. And so I put him up, and then when I came back, I would start asking her questions. And she told me her name, how old she was, and she was pretty distraught. She was definitely in shock when I talked to her.
Okay. And what did she tell you her name was?
Beverly Zilke.
And how old was she, or is she?
I think she said she was 85, 86.
Okay. And did you talk any further about what had happened with her?
Yeah, I mean, when the sheriff's department got there, she had to tell the story over again. And like I said, she was definitely in shock. So the story was kind of, I mean, she said the same things, but there were, how do I say it? There were instances, input that she didn't tell me in the beginning. Like, she had her daughter's dog with her and they somehow kept the dog. They threw her out of the car and then just took off with the dog. She was pretty distraught because she was dog setting for her daughter. That was one of the things I remember. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, I just want to know if there was anything else that you talked about about what had happened to her, and anything else besides the dog that
Oh, I
stands
do.
out.
Yeah, she did say that one of the girls threatened that she had a gun. And at that point, I think that's when they kicked her out, said that she would kill her.
Okay. And this whole time, that, about how long do you think she was at your house, Miss
It was
Zilke?
it was over an hour.
Okay. And uh, was she in the same state most of the time that she was at your house?
Yes, she was pretty, yeah, she was in shock. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned before shock, distraught. Was she crying, or did she?
Really, I mean, she's a strong woman from what I can remember, but the only time she really cried is when she was worried about her daughter's dog.
Okay. And did she have you call anyone for her I mean, obviously you called 911.
No, because she didn't have her phone. They had her phone, so she didn't remember the numbers.
Oh, okay.
I do know that the sheriff's department called her or had her call her bank to shut off her credit cards because she was.
What we're seeing here is the part that always gets me. When a stranger shows more compassion than the people who hurt you. This elderly woman, bleeding, alone, terrified, somehow walked almost half a mile just to find help. And even in shock, the first thing she worries about isn't herself. It's her daughter's dog. That tells you everything you need to know about Beverly's character. And everything you need to know about the kind of people who did this to her.
Time. So I'm going to need you to raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God?
I do.
All right. Ms. Norris, you may question the witness. You can put your hand down, ma'am.
Miss Zilke, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And please state your name for the record.
Beverly Zilke, Zielke.
And Miss Zilke, in July of this year, where did you live?
Oh,
Where were you living when that happened?
oh God.
Okay. And do you recall an incident on July 20th?
What incident are you referring to?
Did you have to talk to law enforcement on July 20th about something that happened to you?
Yes.
And can you explain to the court what happened to you on July 20th?
Well, it's sort of a long story. Do you want to hear everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the girl that lives in the apartment complex called and asked if she could come down and look at a cookbook. And I said, well, yeah, that would be fine. And the other girl's name, I think, is it Elizabeth? Is it the small girl that lived in the same apartment complex? And so I thought she'd come. The doorbell rang. And it was I didn't know her name, but I found out today it was Wendy. And she came, she said, is she here yet? And I said, no, she should be here anytime. It was shortly after the other girl came. And Wendy and I sat in the living room and just chit-chatted about small talk. And the other girl was in the room with the cookbook in a bedroom in the very back of my house where I have a bookcase. And finally she said, she's taking a long time. I think I'll go back and see what she's doing. I said, oh, okay. And she went back there, and it was quite a while. And I thought, my lands, what's going on? So I got up, went down the hall, started to open the door, and it was locked. And I thought, huh. And I tried it again, and it unlocked. It was unlocked. So I went in, and the other girl was sitting on the floor looking through the cookbook, and Wendy was standing there just kind of watching her. And she finally continued to watch, and then she said,
This testimony feels almost surreal. You can hear how confused she still is while trying to stay respectful and detailed. She invited these women in. She trusted them. She thought they were neighbors. And notice how innocent the setup was. A cookbook, something so harmless becomes a doorway to something horrifying.
We all got down and got in the car, and the thin girl sat in the, is her name Elizabeth? I think someone told me it was the thin girl, and Wendy, the heavier set girl, she got in the back seat, and we went down Rock Road to the highway and started going on the highway and turned to go to, and it was towards Andover. And I know there's 2 stoplights, was one, and then the second you turn and go down the street to go in Andover. And when we got to the first one, I was started to go, and she said, no, turn here. And I said, that's a country road. And they said, yeah, it's a shortcut because her insurance won't be accepted at the other place, and it will at this other place that we're going to. I said, okay. So we started going down the country road and went and rode. And I said, where is this place? We've passed Andover. And she said, don't worry, it's down the road more. And I went down, and finally I just stopped the car, and I said, I want to know where we're going, because we've been on this road a long, long time, and we should be there. And all of a sudden, that Wendy held her purse up, and she said, see this purse? I said, yes. And she said, I have a gun in it, and I will use it. And
that moment when she says, where is this place? Is exactly where her survival instincts kicked in. She knew something was wrong. She knew she had been manipulated, but she still didn't expect violence. That's the painful part. She was trying to help people, and they weaponized that kindness against her.
And then I said, she jumped out of the car and yanked my driver's side door open. And I also had my daughter's dog, because she was in the car, little Chloe, because I was babysitting, because my daughter went on a cruise. And so I was babysitting her dog. And she grabbed my hand by the door, which would have been my left hand, and she started pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. And she had long fingernails, and they cut into my skin all the way down. I ended up having blood running. I had blood running clear down my arm. And the other girl was the thin girl that lived in the apartment. She was pushing me from the back, and Wendy was pulling my arm and yanking me, and I was trying to hang on with my other my right hand to the steering wheel and stay in the car. And they said, "Get out of the car and give me your purse and your car." And I said, "No, that car belongs to me, and so does my purse." And she pulled me out, and my whole arm was blood. It was all bloody. And when they threw me in the dirt, and when I stood up, I had blood all down my arm, and the dirt was stuck all over the whole entire arm. And I finally they zoomed off in the car, and I didn't know, and I was yelling when they were driving off, and I said, "Where is Chloe? Where is Chloe?" And they were already gone. They didn't care. I didn't know if they took Chloe or Chloe was out of the car. I walked around. I couldn't find her. I finally started walking down the road, and I went to a farmhouse that I came to and knocked on the door. They were not home. So I walked back out in the road.
This part hits hard. An 86-year-old woman fighting to stay inside her own car while two younger women clawed her skin, dragging her out by force. And the gun threat? That changes the entire situation. This isn't just a robbery. It's a violent ambush. The detail about her bleeding and being thrown into dirt makes this one of the most heartbreaking testimonies I've ever heard.
Road, and I walked on down quite a ways to another farmhouse. I went to the door and knocked on the door, and the man answered, and I said, "I need to call the police. I was just thrown out in the dirt in my own car, and they took off with my purse and my car." And I said, "I need to have the police." He said, "Oh my goodness, I'll call right away." And so they called, the man called the police, and I sat on the front porch, and then here come the fire truck, and they wanted to know if I went to, and the policeman and the sheriff, and they all came in the driveway of the farmhouse where I stopped at. And I said, no, I didn't need to go to no hospital. Finally, the fire truck left, except they treated my arm. They washed it all down and put medicine on it and put bandage on. No, wait a minute. They washed it all down and they put medicine on it. I don't remember whether they put some bandage on the bad part of just a Band-Aid on a couple of them, but the others were they were basically clear. And
okay, Ms. Zielke, I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. I'm going to see if the attorney has any other specific questions for you. Ms. Norris, do you have a question to ask her?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Zielke, when you say country road, do you mean gravel road?
Imagine being 86, injured, confused, bleeding down your arm, your dog missing, your car stolen, and still having to walk house to house because nobody's home. That image of her standing on a porch, covered in dirt and blood, waiting for help, that's something you don't forget.
As Wendy on the screen?
Yes, I see one Negro girl, and that's her.
So that presents to me.
Okay, so do you see the person that you've been referring to as the bigger girl and Wendy when you were talking?
Yeah, yes.
All
Can
right,
you
Ms.
say
Ms.
what color she's wearing and maybe what the title in the corner of the box is?
She's wearing orange.
Okay.
An orange.
And Your Honor, would ask that the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Wendy Scott.
Her voice doesn't waver. She knows exactly who did this to her. And even through a computer screen, even through shock and age, she picks Wendy out instantly. That's the kind of certainty that juries remember.
Ms. Zielke, when this is going on, were you in fear for your safety?
Well, yeah, when they stopped and jumped and pulling my arms and shoved me out in the dirt and zoomed off in my car, definitely. I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on.
Anything else that Wendy said to you about the gun, or if she was going to use the gun?
She said, I've used this before and I will use it again. That's
And Miss Zilke, based on how you were explaining it, you did not give them any permission to take your car or your purse or your daughter's dog.
definitely not. They threw me on the ground and just took it. I could not believe it. I was hanging onto the steering wheel with everything trying to stay in the car. And the other girl was shoving me from the back, and Wendy was pulling my arm from the other. She was standing with my the driver's door open, pulling my arm. And
I've used this gun before, and I will use it again. That one sentence shows intent, threat, and the mindset behind the attack. You can hear Beverly reliving the fear as she says it. This was an accident. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was predatory.
Question, Ms. Norris?
Thank you, Miss Silky. I don't think that I have any other questions. But Mr. Watts, the defense attorneys may have some follow-up questions, okay?
all right.
Thanks.
Mr. Watts, do you have any questions for Ms. Zilke?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Zilke, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that basically some persons came to your door, correct?
What did you say?
You said that some persons came to your door?
Some persons?
That day?
Wendy came to my door first,
Okay, let's talk
which I
about
was shocked because she wasn't with that the other girl that lives there. And she said, do you mind if I come in and wait
ma'am.
for her?
Ma'am.
And
hold
I
on a
said,
moment, ma'am.
well,
Ma'am, hold a moment. You mentioned you've used that name Wendy several times. How and when did you learn that this person's name was Wendy?
because today I learned it.
Okay.
I didn't know it before, but I learned it today when we were calling in and stuff.
Even under cross-examination, Beverly's story doesn't crack. She remembers what matters. She remembers what they did. And she remembers how terrified she was. Cases like this remind us why elder abuse laws exist. Because people like Wendy and her friend count on the elderly being easy targets. But Beverly wasn't silent. She fought back by surviving and by testifying.